Living in the Northwest, we have many opportunities to catch different species of fish. Being so close to the Pacific Ocean give us many options to catch fish that travel to the ocean, such as spring chinook, fall chinook, coho, summer and winter steelhead. Today, I'm going to inform you on how to catch winter steelhead. Locally around the Portland metropolitan area, we have a couple different rivers to fish. Pretty close, just 15 or 20 minutes away, you have the Clackamas River, the Sandy River, and then if you want to drive further, you can go to the coast, such as the North Fork, the Nehalem, the Big Nehalem, the Nestucca, the Siletz, and many other rivers down there. So, choosing a river to go to is just the beginning. The first technique that we use to catch winter steelhead is what we call bobber and jig fishing. What it uses is you have your bobber, which right here, this is a TurboMaster 3. It's pre-weighted for 1/8 of an ounce, and it floats an 1/8 ounce jig head. Then your jig, which is right down here, is whatever jig you choose. Mostly these are made up of marabou, yarn, chenille, fake eggs, all sorts of different things for these. You can find them at any local tackle store around here. This right here is an arrow jig. It's black head with a red body. And what it's going to do is it's going to float through the water just like that. Your bobber is going to float it, and it's going to go through the water just like that. And those steelhead are going to come up and grab it, and they're going to sink the bobber. Couple things to know about this is if you're fishing this and your bobber's sitting like that in the water, then your jig's back here dragging, which is not what you want to do. You want to be probably 8 to 10 inches off the bottom. So what you're going to do is you're going to reel this in, you're going to grab your bobber, and you're going to slide it down a couple inches. That way you want your bobber sitting just like that, straight up and down, vertical in the water. That way you know that jig is fishing. And as long as your bobber is fishing straight up and down, sitting vertical, you are fishing productively and you have yourself a chance to catch a winter steelhead. This is probably the easiest technique. You don't lose much gear. It's a very easy way to fish. The second way that we fish from the bank is what we call drift fishing. It involves a size 1 hook, a corky, and some yarn. This is tied up with an egg loop, and what this is meant to do is up above it about 18 inches, you have yourself a swivel with some lead. So you're going to cast this upstream, allow it to get down in the current, and that will allow this corky to be back here, and it'll float up off the bottom just a little bit, and it'll slowly bounce down. And those fish, what they do is when it bounces down in their face, they come up and grab it, and you'll feel it like a bite on your rod. It'll pull down and pull down, then you're going to want to set the hook on that fish. This is a very effective way to fish. You can also take it, and we have an egg loop tied up here, so what you do is you push the line through. You're going to pull out that egg loop, and you can also take some eggs, steelhead eggs cured in borax, work really well for winter steelhead. You put them on your hook, and you put your egg loop around them, and you cinch your egg loop up very gently. And that eggs just give it more scent. The steelhead love eggs. It gives them something to bite on. They hang on a little bit longer when you're fishing. Those two techniques are very popular from the bank. They're very productive ways to fish. Guys catch many summer and winter steelhead on them year round. The third way that I have rigged up here is what we call back trolling. And this is going to be a plug, which is this right here. This one is a Storm Wigglewort. It's a metallic green color. It's got 2 treble hooks. And what this does is it sits like this down the water and it wiggles back and forth. And this is going to be out of a boat, such as a sled with a trolling motor or a drift boat using the oars. And you're going to string these out about 70 feet. If you have 2 rods going, you want them to be about the same distance out, so right around 70 feet. And then you're going to slowly back these down in those fish's face. And those plugs come down, they wiggle in their face, and it irritates and agitates the fish. And they're going to come up and they're going to grab it, and your rod's going to bury. And it'll fold just about to the water when those fish grab that plug. And the way we rig this up is you go from your main line to a swivel. This is a ball bearing swivel. They spin very freely. They allow you not to have line twists. And then from here you go back about 2.5 feet back to your plug. And something that is very key in my book is you gotta have 2 snaps. This will allow that plug to move more freely in the water. It gives it a lot more action. It will produce more takedowns. In the long run, it'll produce more hookups. So these two ways, the first two ways, bobber and jig fishing and drift fishing, are very popular from the bank. They produce a lot of fish. Most guys use a lightweight rod for bobber and jig fishing, something like a 9'6". That way you can mend your line. 6 to 10 pound line rating. For jig fishing, most of us run a floating fire line, a 14 pound. That way the line floats when you go to mend it, just like you would fly fishing. You're going to get a lot better mend. You're not going to drag your bobber through the water. And to that we tie a bumper of about 10 feet of 10 pound maximum ultragreen. That way you get the stretch, you get the abrasion resistance from your mono, which is what this is tied on, a 10 pound mono. For drift fishing, a lot of guys like to use a 12 pound mono. It works very effectively, and then they tie their leader, like this one here, onto a 10 pound mono. And that's a very effective way to go for drift fishing. If you're going to be plug fishing, I like to run a 30 pound braided main line and then tie about a 20-foot bumper of 20 pound mono. It's heavy for steelhead. You do not need that much. The reason I do is because you lose a lot less gear. It allows you to get those plugs back when they get hung up when you're back trolling them down in the boat. Also, drift fishing and bobber and jig fishing will both work very well from the boat. What you're looking for when you're fishing, drift fishing or bobber and jig fishing, looking for a tail out, a current seam, somewhere those fish are going to hold. When you're back trolling plugs, you're looking for something about 5 to 10 feet deep where those fish are going to hold in the water. So hopefully these techniques will be able to help you get out there and catch some winter steelhead locally. They'll be coming in the Clackamas will be looking around late December, and then they'll run all the way till April or May. And then that'll run right into summer steelhead and spring chinook. So I hope that this informed you guys very well on how to catch some winter steelhead around here. Go out and give it a try, and good luck.